Guys, welcome to the very first episode of the 24 Down Presents The Back Porch. I want to bring in first here the two hosts of The Back Porch, Francis and Andrew Kindler. Guys, welcome.
Thank you. We're very excited for this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this is your guys' baby. I am so thrilled that this is taking off and this is becoming a thing. I couldn't be more proud of you guys. Obviously, our first episode of the podcast was with D-Shat, so our first episode of the Back Porch is going to be with D-Shat too. So we'd like to, at this time, welcome in D-Shat as well.
Woo-hoo.
What up? What up?
Awesome. No, this is going to be good. I'll let you guys kind of give it like a quick overview of this show. And then I'm going to get into something really quick and then let you guys just kind of take over after that. So
Awesome. Well, Francis and I talked earlier, and kind of our whole focus of this is we just want it to be follow-up to the podcast. And basically what we had decided is we think every episode is probably going to be completely different. I had decided with Francis that we asked D-Shat to send us 5 really, really special pictures that mean a lot to him. And we're going to show those, and then we're going to discuss why they're powerful, why they mean so much, discuss the backstory. So for this episode, that's kind of where we wanted to go. We just wanted to go with, because D-Shat's heart is ministry. I think we can all see that and we could all hear that. And so I thought that would be a really good way to kind of delve deeper into D-Shat and how he's changed and his mindset and what he lives for is ministry. So we kind of go off those pictures and just get into that. And again, the next podcast could look completely different, but we thought it could just be something really fun to do it that way.
yeah, it's awesome. Francis, you got any vision of what you kind of want to see here on the Back Porch?
I'm just excited for the interaction with everybody. Like you said before, Hat, you have the privilege of interacting with everyone on the podcast. So you have like the firsthand take with it. I'm really excited to dive into those though, and have our own hand in it, and then have some feedback from other people and more content really. But I'm just really excited to just keep doing this thing and helping it grow and stuff. So
Yeah, that's awesome. So like, again, kind of what Andrew was saying, like this first episode is going to be probably very different from the second episode and very different from the third and so on and so forth. What I've gathered is that you guys want the interaction from people. There's been quite a few people that have reached out and said, hey, when I was listening to this episode, like I wanted to say this, or I had this story that popped up. And this is your opportunity. This is your platform to have your voice as a part of it as well. So I really want to encourage those of you listening to the normal podcast and then listening to this, as these continue to be put out here, get involved, share your side of the story, share little tidbits that you want to talk about to whoever the guest of the week is. So I really just want to encourage you guys to do that.
yeah, next week or the next episode was on Andrew, so we want to encourage people to listen to that podcast again and give feedback on certain memories, stories, or even just input on stuff that Andrew talked about with him, whether it be military or his camel or other things that he went through.
Hey, man.
Well, so, not to, that's pretty much the gist of this. And I think everybody kind of understands it by now, but just to, not that I'm always necessarily the best leader or anything like that, but to lead by example, if you will, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys what I wanted to share with D-Shat. And then from there, I know Francis and Andrew are going to take over and kill some time and do some awesome stuff with D-Shat. But this is just a taste of something that you could do as well. So this is my little message to D-Shat based on his podcast and whatnot. So, brother, I won't have too much to say for these Back Porch episodes because I've been lucky enough to be involved in all the pods so far. So I say what I want to say during the pod anyway. But if we want to talk about my luck, let me tell you how lucky I am to call you not only a friend, but a brother. We share so much in common, from our taste in music to our taste of clothing, deep V-neck bros for life. Yep.
That's true.
But I just wanted to remind you how much I love you, man, and more importantly than anything, how effing proud of you I am. The reason that the whole Don Meyer thing like means so much to me, and the reason it gets to me so much is because unlike him, like I know the person you are, and I couldn't be more proud of you. We've definitely, like you and I and Francis and everybody else, we have some more shows to go to down the road. Like as the years go on, like definitely want to go to another few Shikari shows with you boys and some Silver King shows and everything like that. So, but I want to say I can't wait for your book, man. I don't really read. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't really read, but I'm going to read that thing front to back multiple times, I'm sure.
Same.
And I just, more than anything, I can't wait to see your continual growth. And yeah, I love you. And the other thing I wanted to say too is like, I want to thank you for being the first guest on the 24 Down podcast, because without you, like things didn't start rolling. And who knows if it would have kicked off, and you took that risk and you took that chance to be the first guest. And so a lot of credit is due to you too. So I love you, man. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say. So I will let the guys take over, and I hope you guys have an awesome show.
Well, hey, it was very fitting that you introduced us. You started all this again, just like we've told you before. You know, you brought all of us back together virtually, and the group text messages we're doing. I mean, I'm at work and my phone's blowing up, and it's just
blowing up.
But it's just we're connecting in ways I love it, and so it's very fitting that you were able to introduce our first Back Porch episode, and we appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you,
All right.
Hat.
Love you, D-Shat.
Love you, man.
All right, so D-Shat, what's your thoughts on starting off strong, huh?
I mean, already I'm tearing up after what you just said. Get me all tears on film first time. Nah, feeling good, man. It's rad seeing like what all has come since that first episode. Like, I think I was reading in the chat today about I was listening to Bowden's podcast and about how he was like driving out to like Pennsylvania, and the podcast may be like 2 hours long, but I think the longer, the more I'm like, dude, heck yeah. Cause I'm always trying to drive to like Orlando on my days off, and to be like, listen to a podcast with dudes who either I know or don't know. It just feels like I'm in the car with all you guys, and we're all just having just a good old time. And like, what I've learned too is like Buddha, like listening to his podcast, I never knew him. Like I never knew him in college, and it made me be like, dang, dude, like I wish I knew Buddha like back in school. He seemed like a guy I would have gotten along with and would have had some good times with. But Buddha, I loved your podcast, man. And dude, you sound like a really cool guy. I've always known you were a cool guy, but I just didn't know personally.
Well, hopefully through this podcast, you'll learn to know him a little bit more, because we'll get a little more in depth on when we do his episode. Throw some pictures up and videos and stuff, because he has plenty of that.
Well, hey, that's very fitting you said that, actually, because Buddha actually commented on your podcast on Facebook when we had posted it. And so I went back and I got that, and he said, I wanted to read this to you. And so his kind of follow-up was, he said, wow, bro, just finished listening. What a great job. Also, I knew of D-Shat, but I didn't know him too well at VSCC, but I got to know him so well. Loved the vulnerability and authenticity. Loved hearing the stories of 24 Down after I left. And, I think it was he captured it perfect. The vulnerability and authenticity. I mean, you shared how you feel. You shared, your fears. You shared, all these different, your successes. And I mean, it was awesome. It was such a good way to start a podcast. You
definitely put it all out there. You let it out. And that not only was that awesome to hear your authenticity and all that, but it also opened the door for the next podcast for people to open up in different ways. So like how Pete opened up for people for stuff that he was dealing with, and like other people to really open up. It really like set the tone for it. So
that's cool. That's awesome, man. I'm grateful to be a part of any of this stuff, and yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. No, I wanted to read you that. So, I think I wanted to ask you first about just how has it been to listen to all these podcasts? I mean, what Bowden just recorded, and he was the 13th one. So, I mean, how has it been listening to all these, catching up, hearing people's stories? Just like, how's it been for you?
Bro, it's super good. I mean, it's refreshing because there's days where I just need like a pick me up because like I have like so I live where I work, as I work as a missionary, because right now I'm in like my office, and then right in the backyard there's my house, and I live with all my interns and stuff. I'm like the house dad and stuff, and so some days like that's like my community, which is good. It's a good community, but some days I'm like, man, I need people outside of here to connect with or be lifted up by. And even if I can't be with somebody in person, having these podcasts has been like, it's like I'm with my friends again. And like I said, I go on drives and I'm like, I'm hanging out with Hat, I'm hanging out with Wolfie again, or whoever else, and I'm getting to know who Buddha is. Like, and I don't know, and it stretches me too. Like Andrew, hearing your podcast, like that one. I mean, I was getting choked up and messed up hearing this about your stuff and like, with like stuff in the service. And I don't know, it's been refreshing my soul. It's been what I need. And community is something that I always reach for. I know how important that is. And when you can't have it like right in person, I mean, from traveling so much, like all my friends are in different states, different countries or whatever else. But this podcast has made me feel like I have everybody right here in Florida. I think that's been a special part about it. So, yeah, it's been encouraging more than anything. And I look forward to every episode. It's like Christmas. I'm like, oh man, the presents under the tree. Hat said it's coming out like this weekend. Like, oh, like when Bowdens is coming out, I'm like, oh baby, can't wait for it.
I'm waiting
But
till Tuesday, and it's been really hard to wait this long.
Yeah, same.
Dude,
Andrew and I usually wait till Monday to listen to it because Mondays are like the worst day of the work week. So it really is good to listen to them at the first day of the week because it really helps you get through that Monday. The
Yeah.
longer
for
it is, the
sure.
better.
Yeah, Wolfie,
try to say-
no spoiler alerts. Dang.
Yeah, right. Come on.
Yeah, I try to save it for like long drives. Like I listened to Junior's podcast when I was driving to, where did I go? I went to like Universal or Disney. I think I went to Universal. But I was just driving up there the one day and I was like 2.5 hours of a drive. I started it when I left the house and it finished right as I pulled in the parking lot. I'm like, best drive of my life.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I think, I guess to all the people listening or watching, probably we had already said this, but every episode is going to be different. And so we want to start with talking about these pictures for D-Shat. I'm really excited to just hear more of your heart. And actually, I think maybe I want to start with what we had talked about on the phone. Yeah, I know, but it would be awesome because we would hear that and then we'll be able to go into seeing your heart in action. And so, what I had asked him was I had asked him if he would be very vulnerable and be very open with us. And he said, of course, which is awesome. And what I wanted to talk to D-Shat about was how different he is. And I'm sure, Francis, I know you see this too. Everybody sees this because he has made such a dramatic change from the D-Shat of college to the D-Shat of now. And in the way I'm saying that was I had talked to him and I said when he was in college, he was awesome like always, but he wasn't sure of himself.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting on the stoop. I remember there was different times we'd be skateboarding and he would talk to me and he'd just be like, I'm just not sure of why I'm here. I'm not sure of who I am. I'm like, you kind of just were lost in trying to find yourself. As many people get, many people are there. And all of us experience that, but to see you from there and to see how you are now is absolutely insane. I mean, the change you went through is just amazing to see how confident you are, how just exactly where your focus is and you know exactly who you are in Christ. Like it's amazing to really see that. And that's something I really wanted to talk to you about because that was the first thing when I started listening to your podcast. I was like, this is a different dude. I mean, this is, this D-Shat is a completely different. He grew into a mature, God-fearing man, and it's awesome. I mean, it's awesome to see.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
And I thought about like when you first asked me about this on the phone, I was trying to think like, man, like how do I answer it and be like, again, fully transparent and hold nothing back. And even when you said about starting off the first podcast with like or if it was like transparency, authenticity, or whatever. That's kind of been like where I found the most growth from throughout the last like 10 years or so. Has been there's a principle I live by. I call it the 3 H's, and it's humility leads to honesty, which leads to healing. And when we are able to humble ourselves down and just be honest with ourselves, with each other, it'll always lead to healing, whether it's emotional, spiritual, physical, mental, all that good stuff. And I link it all back to James, where he says, confess your sins and you'll be healed. Like, just confess where you're at, confess what you hold against somebody, and know that like God wants us to just release things and to be free. And so a lot of my freedom over some mental things that I've battled has come with like communication, of being real and acknowledging what I'm feeling, acknowledging where I'm messing up. And man, like, I know there was one big breakthrough, and I'm skipping ahead a little bit. Let me skip back a little. So in college, I don't know. I hope I don't make anyone feel convicted by this, but there's usually a joke that would get said when I'll be like, if I was looking sad or looking whatever, it's like, oh, D-Shat's being emo right now. And people would always call me emo, which, it's my music taste. It was my style. I had my ripped jeans, and I forget if I had my studded belt back then. I remember I dyed my hair black with a red streak in my freshman year. That was goofy. But I had my, it was 2007. I know Chocolate remembers this, like, for sure, because he drove with me. Oh no, well, Gene first. Gene was in my car with me when I drove up to meet this girl, who was my ex-girlfriend. And we got in a 4-car pileup on 476 going to Baptist Bible College. And it was right at the halfway point, exactly halfway, an hour into our drive. Got in this 4-car pileup, and I was on my way to see this girl to see if we were going to start dating. And they had this rule that you couldn't hang out one-on-one. So that's why Gene came with me. And I remember that day, and Gene saying to me, should we keep going or should we just turn back and go to school? Because we're halfway there. And I remember being like, no, I got to prove myself. Like, we got to go. And in hindsight, I look back and say that was God's warning sign to me, saying, dude, don't go. Like, what I have to do to get your attention to not go in here. And back then, before this happened, people would say, oh yeah, D-Shat's super joyful. He's super happy. Like, what happened to that? You're this joyful guy, whatever. And that day I began a relationship with this girl that lasted only 3 months. But there's a lot of stuff that happened in it that was really negative. Like, as weird as it says, like, she was like emotionally, spiritually, and mentally like abusive to me. Like, it was really messed up, the stuff that she said. And it had such an effect on me that it just like, 2008, I was depressed, like legitimately depressed for like the second time, like, in my life, like clinically depressed. And I was out for like the whole year. And that was the year in particular, everyone would probably say, D-Shat's being emo. He's just being emo. But I've always dealt with depression. I've always dealt with low self-esteem. Jesus fixed a lot of it, for sure. Some things trigger it, but a lot of my roots and triggers began that day. And sometimes when things get pushed aside as us just being emo, like, it made me go down even further, where I would just withdraw. I didn't know how to talk about it and how to be real without being made fun of or whatever. So I just kind of stuck to myself and kept quiet. And that was why I had such an identity crisis, because I didn't know what denominations were back then. And she was Baptist, and I'm obviously this like non-denom, charismatic, whatever kid. And I was told, God doesn't speak to people. Like, God doesn't heal people. God doesn't do things now. Like, so she was like full on cessationist and stuff. And that's where I was like, well, what do I believe? Like, people have different convictions, people have different beliefs. And so that led to my mindset. So all this long story to say, like, that's why I felt the way I did, where I was like, who am I? And the stuff that she said to me, like, just made me really feel inferior and have just re-stirred up my battle with depression all over again. And I'd always dip back and forth in it. And there was even like a time, like, I didn't know if I'd actually admit this, like, but I feel like, hey, this is Stories of 24 Down. I think it was shortly after this, while this happened, I've dealt with that for about 2007, 9 years. 9 years. I let the stuff that happened with that relationship affect me in the most negative way. And it wasn't until I went to Spain, when I went to school, where like God really uprooted the roots of what happened there. But the stuff that happened, man, it led me to be, again, just super depressed in college. And one night, due to stuff we've talked about in every episode, like hypocrisy we saw at Valley Forge and all those kind of things, I was super over it. There's a reason why, like, I don't really keep medicine around, because my mom would always pack me up with like bottles of pills and stuff whenever I'd go to school. Like, oh, you need Tylenol, you need ibuprofen. And I'm like, whatever. And one night I was just super over it. My depression kicked right back in, and and I just took everything and I could find, and that was when I was living in the apartment downstairs. I think the only person who really knew about that was Chocolate, because I remember I was like up in my top bunk, and I think I was like still like awake, and I don't know how much stuff I emptied out my bottles, and I remember he was just like, dude, like, for real, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm just shaking, I don't know. And I don't even really remember what happened that night. And I even journaled that night saying like, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm feeling, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to do something. And I just did that. That's how low it was in college, but I tried to hide it as best I could. And there's a quote that Dwight Arms always says, they say secrets make you sick. The more I kept that stuff inside, that that's how dark I was back then. That's why my chest says, son, I love you at your darkest, because God saw me at my darkest, and he showed me you love me, and changed everything. But those are the roots and the things I was battling in college to show how dark it was. But dude, I don't even know, man. I think one of the biggest changing points, because I had like my 3-year relationship where I was engaged, that ended, and I was still like, what the heck is my life about? And then I did the world race. That's where everything changed, because the depression stuff was still heavy all the way until 2015 when I left on the world race. I had to take like malaria medicine. This is probably just a lot. For sure, this is like too much, but I had to take this malaria medication for being around the world for a year. And I had some before for when I went to the Dominican Republic, and I was fine. And they said, well, if you're going to be away for a year, you need like a different pill. You need one that's like good for a week. And they said, but there might be some side effects. And I'm like, oh, I'm fine. I don't have side effects to drugs ever. And these things led to hallucinations. It led to vivid nightmares. And what they didn't tell me was, if you have had a history of depression, it's going to heighten it and give you suicidal thoughts. And right before I left, and I admitted this in like a nonchalant way to my coaches after month 1, because I was like, yeah, so much good stuff is happening. And to think, like, just a month ago, like this thing happened where, like I said, it heightened depression, it reinvigorated for some reason. And I mean, it led me to want to like jump in front of a car at one night. Like, that's how, again, like how bad, even at that point that it was, that I've always dealt with it. And then I went out and around the world, and I said, Lord, I need you. And that's the breaking point. It changed everything. Was, God, if I have only you and my Bible in my backpack, and I'm living out of it for a year, are you enough? Like, really, Jesus, like, are you good enough? Are you worthy of it? And so every month I challenged him. I said, Lord, let me leave something in every country and take something away from it. And there'd be months where he's taken away my anxiety and he's given me hope. He's taken away my anger and given me peace. He's taken away like all these things every single month. But month 3, when I was in Cambodia, was what changed everything, which is why you see such a different person, because that was the first day. It took 12 years for me to come clean to my parents about trying to commit suicide when I was 15. They never knew. At least I never told them. And I just felt like God said, you need to just be honest and be real. This is the whole humility leads to honesty, which is the healing thing happen. And I called my parents with a Skype call from Cambodia, from this dirty random hostel I was staying in. I think it was like right when I turned 27. And I told them, I was like, you guys are great parents. You never did anything wrong, but I need to be honest with you and tell you something. And the moment I told them, like, you have that fear, like, how will someone receive me if I tell them I did this, or like I'm currently thinking this? And I still to this day feel that way. I asked Tom Harshberger once, I was like, do you ever feel like if you admit where you're at, like as a youth minister, that to anyone in your church, like they'll say you're not fit for ministry and fire you? He's like, oh dude, all the time. It's like the fact that we can never be honest about where we're at is scary. And I'm like, we just got to bottle things up and not tell anyone to ever find help. Like, that's crazy. But this day I thought my parents might say, where did we go wrong or whatever else? But my mom's response, like my dad responded first, which is the most crazy thing because we don't really say a lot of this kind of stuff. But my dad looks at me, he says, we loved you. It's the first thing he said after I said, I tried to kill myself at 15. And my mom was like, I knew. And I'm like, how'd you know? And she's like, I'm your mom. I have a way of just knowing these things. And it's like, it doesn't change anything. Like, we love you no matter what. And I'm just like, and that messed me up. But the weight that was lifted off my shoulders from keeping that inside of like, people don't know this. Like, I don't talk about this. I talked publicly about it in skate parks when we did skate demos in like 2013, I think, for the first time. And that gave me a little bit of freedom, a little bit of healing. But telling my parents, because I knew I was keeping a secret from them, that changed my heart posture from then on out. And that was the start of me saying, all right, God, like, I feel free now. Now surprise me everywhere we go. And then all the stories I was saying on the last podcast is like, that's where they came from, with just no longer carrying shame and condemnation over who I was and being a slave to that negative mindset. It's like learning that despite depression, despite anxiety, two things that I'll be honest, I still deal with to this day, but not in such an extreme, you know, it wears on my face every single day or something like that. But carrying those things, I've learned, kind of like Paul in 2 Corinthians, where he says, you know, I have that thorn in my side, and 3 times I've pleaded with the Lord, like, take it away, but yet it still remains. And he says, dude, like, my grace is sufficient for you. Like, when you're weak, like, he is strong. And that's what I've discovered is even when I'm depressed, or even when I'm anxious, or I'm in the middle of an anxiety attack, God's like, this doesn't define you right now. I know you feel this way right now, but you're always my son. So walk in that identity, and dude, you're going to be okay. And there's been numerous times when I'm in the middle of ministry. I'm like, how the hell am I going to pray for somebody right now? Like, I can't even pray for myself right now. And God, and all I have to say is, Jesus, come. Like, Holy Spirit, speak. Just do your thing. And the second you just relinquish control and say, it's yours, he speaks every time, because he's good, because he's our Father, we're his sons, and that's okay. Even because in that weak space, it's like, he's okay. He's a good father with good gifts for his children. And I remember I don't know if I told the story last time, but I woke up with an anxiety attack in Spain, and I was like paralyzed in my bed. I could not leave. I managed to get out of bed, didn't speak to anyone the whole day, went down to the skate park and I said to my buddies, I said, please come with me to the skate park. You don't have to say anything to me. Just be with me. And while I was down there, I'm still in the middle of this attack, can't do anything. This French guy falls, hits his head, and God says, pray for him. And I said, I'm in no place to pray for anybody. He's like, it's not about you, Derek. It's about me. Just pray for him. And he's like, again, like, I know you feel this way now, but you're always my son. And I walked over to the dude, prayed for him against my better judgment. I was like, I don't know what's happening. But when I got done praying, he was like, yeah, thank you. And he walked away. I don't know if God healed him or not, but I know that in that instant, it was like I woke up from a dream and I knew again who I was. And I was like, what just happened? Like, was I just sleeping for the last like 12 hours? I don't even know what was even happening. But it was like the second I walked in my God identity, God just lifted everything. And it's that moment of checking into your Christ identity is what changes everything. And so every time I'm feeling it, I always know I'm like, every day is a battle. Like, but at the end of the day, Jesus won the whole war. I read the Bible, spoiler alert, Jesus won. And so every day it's like, when we fight battles, we take weapons with us to fight the next battle. Just like in the Old Testament, it's like they fought battles, what belonged to the enemy now belongs to them. It's like, dude, it gets easier. Like, every day is still a battle, but it gets easier. And I have much more awareness of like, who Jesus is. And I don't know, just that closeness of what I experienced that year, just living out of a backpack and with my Bible and just him. It taught me a lot. But it taught me about being open about where you're at, because that's the way you get healing, man. You can't just bandage up a wound and cover it up. Like, you gotta expose it. You gotta clean it out. And yeah, man. So in a nutshell, that's like what I was like back then. That's what I was going through back then. But that was the game changers, where I just threw up my arms and said, Lord, do what you want, and I get in the right environment for him to do what he wanted to do. And that changed everything. And I mean, I have other battles, and even when I was on the open door movement in 2018, like, I still face stuff, and but I've learned that I can call people, and that's why I want to applaud Baldwin, because I mean, I had like another mental breakdown in Alaska, and I was desperate, like, who can I call right now? And like Wolfie and Chocolate are two of my best friends. I can get a hold of them, but I called Baldwin from a glacier in Alaska. And this is what's so rad is after all these years, like I can call him and say, dude, like I'm dealing with this thing. Can you please pray for me? Or can you just be with me right now? And it's like, even on phone lines, like knowing that you can communicate things, not bottle them up, like that alone, just, it changes everything. So, I mean, I'm rambling. I apologize if this is going too long, but that is, yeah, all the things that changed, and how I handle things now. It's like I handle things, but now I know how to handle them. Back then I didn't know. And that's the game changer is, and I try to do my best. Some days I'll stay quiet, but at the end of the day, I'm like, but God, I know you're good. And I know you're bigger than what I'm dealing with. And even if I still have it, I know you still use us. Like 2 Timothy chapter 1, he says, like, not by anything we've done, but because of his own good purposes, he chooses to use us. And I'm grateful that there's dudes all throughout the Bible who are also depressed or suicidal, like Moses, Elijah, and Jonah, and like there's Jeremiah, the weeping prophet. David was the inventor of emo music, if you ask me, or Malcolm Brubaker. I think he said that first. But yeah, so I feel like I'm in good company. If they can all be clean and still serve God and do the things that they did, then Jesus, I'll be clean and I'll be very vulnerable and just be like, I may deal with depression, but I know that you're good, and I know that doesn't define me. The only thing that can define me is that I'm a child of a king in Romans 8, adopted in the kingdom of God, and that's what changes everything. But yes, so there's my story of all the heaviness that I have carried, and to a point still carry, but it's not as heavy as it used to be. And God is good, and I always want to live in victory.
That's so powerful. It really, really, really hit hard. But a couple things that I know that, like, when we first met, one thing I always noticed about you was you were determined. Even if it was something as simple as skateboarding and you wanted to do this trick you've never done before, you're not gonna leave until you do it. So like that determination never left you until now. But the fact that you never gave up and the fact that you always had hope is something that's very encouraging to me and anyone else that might be dealing with that type of stuff. And that's huge, and huge that you dealt with it for such a long time and never gave up. 9 years is a long time, and not a lot of people could deal with that for 9 years, and you did, and you had hope, and we can see that hope that you had, and that's what changed you as a person. We can see now the huge difference that you are based on the hope that you had.
Appreciate that, man.
Oh yeah, I want to say, thank you for sharing. I mean, you opened up a lot, and I really appreciate it, because a lot of people hide things, and I've always tried to be one. To first of all, not judge anybody for their past, but try to encourage people to open, because honestly, people are so scared of hiding their past or hiding their mistakes or hiding things they go through.
Yeah.
But those things make that person into the exact person that they are.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So like, we loved you in college. You were our brother in college, and all that stuff you went through made you that exact person that we loved. So there was nothing that you could have told us that would have changed that.
Yeah.
And so like, I truly believe the more people that open up and share like you about things they went through, it encourages other people to open up and share, because it's like you said, it's where true healing comes from. So
yeah,
I love that you shared. I love that you were vulnerable, and that's one of the words Buddha said. He said, he loved your vulnerability, and so thank you. I mean, I can't say more than that. I really appreciate you being able to open up, because again, the more people that are transparent, the more people that they'll be able to reach. I mean, that's a way that we can minister, is being honest with what we go through.
Oh, yeah.
And then people will say, hey, I deal with that, and they'll be able to come to you, and you'll be able to use that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's like why, like, even when you asked me the question, I didn't want to write anything down, because I was like, Lord, I know, like, if I write something, I feel like I'll forget something, but I always just want to be as real as I can be. There's something like, there's one thing that Valley Forge did to me that, for better or for worse, like it did to me, which was like preaching classes. We'd have to critique each other. We have to like point things out of like, and I still have that. And I was never able to receive from somebody when I went to church on a Sunday like I was always critiquing, like, I would do it this way. I don't like the way he's standing. I would change this. Like and I'm like, I hate that. Like, I hate that I did it. And I was never able to receive from somebody until the world race when my coach would speak. And I'm like, but what the difference maker was, I believe this guy. Like, the way he talked was with, like, I've walked in this before. That's why you can trust me. I'm not just speaking out of my butt, or I'm not just like whatever. He just spoke very real. And I could tell he was like just an authentic guy. The next man was one of my teachers in Spain. And he was just, again, a guy who's been leading in like big conferences around, with like youth conferences around the country and stuff, like big things out there. And yet he's in his 50s and he's talking about, even when I was doing all this stuff, like my son committed suicide. And after that, I tried to commit suicide. And that day when I met him, I was even like, who's this guy? He has to impress me first. The second he got real, I was like, I've never heard anyone share from the pulpit something like that as an actual leader and saying that they struggle with something. And I was like, I trust you. And my mentor out in Spain, we'll go this in one of the pictures. He would always say, mate, I don't trust a man without a limp. And he's like, you see, he has a limp, you know, he's been through it and he's walked out on the other side. And so that's the way I was like, if I can lead in that way and say, you know what? Yeah, we all go through crap, but our pain from the past is able to be power for the present. But that's what I've learned that I can grow with is vulnerability. And so if we can pass it on, I feel that that's one shift that it is happening too. I kept traveling around and I'm like, there needs to be, before I traveled around, I was seeing all these people across America preaching about, men, we don't need to be vulnerable. We gotta be strong. We gotta be tough. That's what men do. We don't cry. We don't do this. And I'm like, really? And there were so many churches that made me feel like, oh, you're too feminine. You're too weak because you talk about emotion. You talk about like, you know, being vulnerable. It's like, no, we got to just bottle it up and be tough. And I'm just like, excuse me? And now I'm starting to see that shift happening that I've been calling out for a while now, of like, people are talking about being real, being honest, and knowing that that's how we can build bridges and say like, hey, if you're in there too, let's walk together. Because if we start getting real from the pulpit, more people will start saying like, okay, I believe this guy, not this you know, figure who has nothing wrong in their life and has a picture perfect family. It's like, I can't grow from that guy. I can grow from the guy who said like Baldwin's pastor right now. I love that guy. Like, he did a sermon while I was dealing with what I was dealing with in Alaska, and I listened to it and I was like, that's a guy I can follow. Because he's just saying like, here's my crap, but still being a powerful leader and showing he's very capable of leading. But yeah, I know. But that's what makes people say like, hey, me too. Yeah. And when you can identify, you know, you can trust the person you're following. Just like I'm sure the disciples, they saw something in Jesus. They're like, we can follow you because we trust you. Rambling.
That's like Peter Sensenik in his podcast at the end. You know, he had on his heart to say, you know, this is what I struggle with. This is what I deal with. And anybody that wants to talk to me, you know, he opened himself up. And that's awesome. You know, I mean, I think that's amazing. That's, you know, I hope more people do that. I hope I do that. Yeah. It's hard because I'm very, very, very good in life. You know, like a complete package. I'm just kidding. No, but it's, I hope I can be that way too, you know, to really share. So yeah, I love it. I love it. That's awesome. So yeah, thanks for sharing.
Coming on guns blazing right there.
Dude, there we go. That was it.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you want to, we could start on, the pictures that you had sent.
Let's party.
Yeah. So
for our listeners only, it would benefit to go to YouTube to watch this series.
That's right. We're trying to make this a visual medium. So yeah. So the first picture you have, you're surrounded by 4 guys, and we want to you're all giving peace signs. We want to know the story behind it, and you know what that meant to you.
Does it look like Africa?
Yes.
Okay, cool. This is the picture I thought it was. Okay, I'm pretty sure
I can show you.
Yeah. All right. Sick. So that's from the first time I left the country. That was my first mission trip in Ghana. And that place terrified the crap out of me because I'd never been out of the country before. I had no desire to go to Africa, but they always said when you pray and say, Lord, like, if you want me to do this, like, you know, you got to change my heart. Like, if it's, he'll make his desire your desire. And he did exactly that. I found myself going to Africa. But our first day, they told us we were going to go to a marketplace. And I'm like, yeah, Africa, get the full experience, go to a marketplace. And I made the mistake of wearing like shorts and a tank. And so all my tattoos were showing. And that makes everyone like a magnet to you. Like, they just get drawn, like, oh yeah, look at the tattoos. Da, 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 da. And so we pull up in this bus, and everyone, like all these vendors and just swarm the bus. And we step out. The second I stepped out of the bus, I got grabbed on my shoulder here, and on my back. And I'm being yanked in 3 different ways. And I'm like, like I'm terrified. Like, terrified. And my bus driver had to like literally fight the guys off me. And then he says, okay, I'll be back in 1 hour for you guys. And my thought was, oh my God, I have to survive for 1 hour in this place. I was so freaked out. And I was like with my friend Madison, she's like this pint-sized like redhead, like she'll fight you. She's like she works in like the pits at like Warped Tour and stuff like that. Or no, like she goes on Warped Tour, but she also works in pits at festivals and stuff. Anyway, but that's who I'm with. I'm asking her to protect me because I'm like terrified. But long story short, one of the guys in that picture, his name is Peter. He followed me the whole way around the market and kept saying, dude, come to my drum shop, come to my drum shop. And I'm like, dude, just leave me alone. Like, I'll bring people here. Just leave me alone. And eventually he leads me to that place, that drum shop. And I bring my friends there. I'm like, hey guys, y'all looking for drums? Like, this is your guy. Check him out. And he's very grateful that I brought people to his shop. And he's like, hey, I like you. Let me show you my house. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm allowed to leave my group. I got to stay here. He goes, no, it's right here. It's right here. This shop itself, you can see it's pretty small in that picture. It's like really narrow, kind of long. And there's a doorway at the end of it. And we walk through this dark doorway, and it opens up to a room smaller than that shop with a bench on the side, a pile of clothes in the corner, and some posters on the wall. And he's like, this is it. Check out my house. And I'm like, wow, like it was so rad because this dude opened up to me and showed me his house and said, like, not just that, but like 9 of the guys living there with him. And I'm like, blew my mind. But this formed like a bond and a friendship with him. And as we were walking out, he gave me this little like token of friendship, this little like circular instrument thing. And I was like, hey man, like, do you know Jesus? And he's like, oh, no. We don't talk about that here. We know Jesus, but we don't talk about that. We're Rastafari, like we don't talk about that. I'm like, okay, my bad. But he seemed really like aggressive with it. So I'm like, all right, cool, leave it alone. And I remember like I tried to share the gospel with him, but he wasn't having it. So I just kind of cut my losses, and we left the market. I was safe. The next day, we had our skateboards, we're doing outreach, and they said we're going to go to a market. We show up at a different place, and I'm like, thank God we're not at that other marketplace. That would have scared me. And the guy goes, oh, we're at the wrong place. Hold that thought. Get back in the bus. And we go back to the market. That's literally scared the crap out of me. And we get there, but this time I have my skateboard, which I always have. My board had Jesus on it, and I had a cross on my board too. And that's my reminder when I'm skating to be like, dude, like this is who you represent. Like, don't be afraid. This is who you represent. And so I have that. We started doing an impromptu skate demo, and all the normal guys, they all come back to our area while we're skating and stuff. And we start actually sharing more of the gospel with them. And they're just like so much more open. Long story short, all these Rastafarian dudes at this drum shop accepted Jesus that day. The next day, we were able to like give them like shirts and skateboards and stuff and just continue skating with them. The next day, we had them up on stage at this music festival we were throwing. They were playing drums up on the stage. The next to last day, we baptized them all in the ocean. And then the next morning, we planted a church in their drum shop. And so that picture is all the dudes who were the former Rastafarian guys who, against all my fear in the world I had, God's like, dude, I'm bigger than your fear. When I tell you to go, I go with you. And he's the one who transforms everything. These dudes accepted Jesus, got baptized, and planted a church in their drum shop that was like still meets like, it's so dope. Like a local pastor became like their pastor at the drum shop. So, but that was my first ever mission trip. And one of the first like just crazy stories of like, wow, didn't see that coming. Like we were just there to do a skate demo at a music festival. That's all we were there for. But the market was just a totally random thing that happened, but there's nothing random that came of God. He's got a purpose for everything. So
that's awesome.
That's that picture though.
That's really cool.
That's a great first experience out of the country.
Yeah, man. Plenty more came from after that, that's for sure. Which you'll see in my book when that finally comes out. After it finally gets done editing it. Yeah, I got backed up in editing, and I'm just like, it's a long story. We'll get to that later. But it is coming, though. It is coming. It's all finished, though.
We all want signed copies.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
get a
for
signed
sure.
copy, or I'm not reading it.
Hand numbered. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, cool. So we have the second picture we're gonna go over real quick. You look like you're in a group of like a dozen people, a bunch of thumbs up, a guy covered in some tattoos, and you making that
Bro.
picture
Yeah.
Eric face.
That was my first month on the world race when I was in the Philippines. And this is a good 24 down story right here, because this is like, it was our kind of people, I would say. So I was working in the mountains in the Philippines. We would do stuff with like street boys who were like 8 years old, already in gangs, already on drugs. Like that was our ministry for the month. On one of our days off, we went to this random mall, and every mall there's kind of like sketchy and dirty looking. And there was a random tattoo shop. And I remember saying when I went on the race, I was like, I'm done getting tattoos. Like, I'm over it. Everyone and their grandma has tattoos, so I'm over it. But this was like my 6th day on the field. And I was like, I guess I'm getting a tattoo today. And that's when I got this key tattoo that says, your promises still remain. And that's like, despite my crap and despite the things I've gone through, God's promises are still yes and amen. Like, they don't change because of my own mental battles and stuff. Like, he's like, dude, like, your promises still remain despite my imperfections. Like, that's the truth of it. And the key has been significant for a very long time for me, but that's another story. But no, we go to this random tattoo shop, and I was not planning to get tattooed, but I got tattooed. And while I'm in there, the guys are like, so why are you getting a key? Like, why does it say this? And I was like, oh, this is what it's about, da da da. And they were like, oh, like, I forget how it got brought up, but they're like, oh, you like music? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, what kind of music? I'm like, I like hardcore. He goes, oh, you know August Burns Red? I'm like, dude, they're my hometown band. Like, those are hometown heroes. He goes, yeah, we love August Burns Red. And like, and you skateboard? I'm like, yeah, like, dude, we love skateboarding. You should meet our friend Ryan. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so they call their buddy Ryan up, and Ryan comes out. Ryan's a pastor who leads a skate ministry and a hardcore music ministry. And I'm just like, this is our day off. Like, none of this is supposed to be like our ministry that month. And this is my whole philosophy of why I say, like, ministry is not just 9 to 5, like, check your hat at the door when you come back home. Like, no, ministry is 24/7. Like, where you go, Jesus goes with you. He goes before you, with you, after you. And so even on our days off when we're having fun, we meet this guy, Ryan. Eventually, he invites me to, he's like, hey, I don't know if you're free on the last Friday of this month. I'm like, I'm still in the country. He's like, come to this place. We're going to have a hardcore show, and we'd love for you to come out and check it out. So we just hopped on a random jeepney, which is like a graffitied up weird bus in the Philippines that you ride on the back over on the rooftop. And I go down to the city, and I brought some of my friends with me who were terrified because they were like, why are they screaming? Are we going to get stabbed out here? Like, they were so freaked out when we were there. But I'm in my element. We go in there, and sure enough, like, they're doing like worship songs, but like hardcore versions of worship songs. And like everyone's throwing down and stuff. And then like, and we're like skating between sets and stuff. But it was like, of all places, month 1, found the one Christian hardcore music ministry and skate ministry. And they were like, brother D-Shat, get on the microphone, share the gospel. And I'm like, okay. And so I hop up on the stage, and I grab the mic, and I just start like preaching the gospel and stuff. I'm sharing my testimony. I'm like, you want this? Like, dude, like, let's get this thing. Let's all pray. Like, it was nuts. It all just happened out of nowhere. And after we got done, like, that was when that picture was taken. I hopped off stage. Everyone got together. We're all just like, yeah, what's up? But I love that picture so much, because that was month 1, and God's saying, like, dude, you left the comforts of home, and I'm showing you, like, even on the other side of the world, here's people who are doing the same thing you're doing back home with like hardcore music, with skateboarding, who love Jesus. And this is family. Even on the other side of the world, this is you're finding family. And so I love that picture so much, just because that was within the first few weeks when I was living abroad for a year. So yeah. And I saw the dude, Ryan, the same guy who met out there. He actually just messaged me like 3 days ago also. So we still talk like 5 years later.
That's
That's
cool.
awesome.
I have one thing to say, which is that's awesome because that's really, really awesome for you.
August
And
Burns Drive, come on.
Two questions. The tattooing there, was it traditional or did they do it differently?
No, it was funny because I was wondering if it was real because his the needle, it was so quiet. And I've never heard, it was like this loud buzzing, was not loud at all. And it was like the needle looked a lot thicker too. Like I was like, is this permanent? Is it actually be actually made by these for real? But yeah, it was legit. I mean, it's still nice and dark, and I love it. The letters are all spelled right. I was terrified that it was gonna be spelled wrong, but yeah, I was $80.
That's
I
cool.
was pretty
Be
hyped.
honest, that's a henna that you draw every day.
I retrace every day.
It was
When I was in Thailand though, I wanted to get a bamboo one where they like tap it into you, but no, everything I got abroad was always normal machine. But yeah, that one's like unusually soft. Every machine in Asia was really quiet. Like my foot tattoo, the bird cage, like that was Cambodia. That happened like the day of. I wasn't supposed to get a tattoo. I just tried to break awkward silence because my squad mates were like too afraid to say I want a tattoo or I want a piercing, and the person's like, "What do you guys want?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna get a bird cage on my foot." And so I walked out on an appointment and got that done, and it hurt like balls. And that's why.
Little did you guys know it was just a marker, like going through, just like.
Yeah, I mean that too, man. It still looks good. Like that happened there, and I got a little umbrella behind my ear in Budapest for $15.
That's cool.
That's a good price.
Yeah,
Good times compared to 100 for the lighthouse in Indiana. Like that was.
That's a good shop minimum right there. $15.
That's what I'm saying.
My
Yeah.
second question is, did you scream at all?
Yes. I did try to hop up on the mic and just try to because there was one worship song that was like take it all. Like I tried to hop up. We did gang vocals. That's what I did up there. So I just put it out there and I was like, yeah. I still scream every day. Every day I can drive around in my car by myself. I actually can do it because there's a video on Facebook somewhere of all of us singing Paramore.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I ever screamed or tried to learn to scream. And since then, every day I'm in my car, like if I'm just driving and playing like We Came as Romans or Gwen Stacy or Rival Choir or whatever else, like I'm always screaming and I love it. But no one here listens to my music at all. So they're just like, who's this freak? So I go back to my car and I just drive around. I'm just like, yeah. And I finally trained myself to be able to do it without throwing my voice out. So it's good.
No one listens to hardcore down there?
No one on staff, like no one with Red Nature. They all it's like, coffee shop, like indie pop music and stuff, which is fine. But every now and then I'll meet some random dude.
It's not.
Every now and then I'll meet some random person where they're like, oh yeah, like so two of the local pastor guys, they were like, oh yeah, just the other week we saw Me Without You and Thrice over at Disney Springs. I'm like, bro, I was there. Like, where were you standing at? Well, I was in the left side of the sound booth. I was on the right side of the sound booth. How did I not know this? Like, I thought we knew each other. So, yeah, dude, I miss shows a lot. I'm actually flying to Pennsylvania the last weekend of this month for a few days because I was supposed to go to Philly the last Saturday of this month. To go see
where?
Where? When?
Philly.
What time? Time is flying in. Do you need to be picked up?
So Friday, September 26th, I think. But the 27th, whatever the Saturday was, when we're supposed to go to Philly to go to the TLA, but as per usual, thanks to COVID, they had to postpone the show, and because Me Without You is breaking up or calling it quits, and they were going to do their farewell tour, but they had to push everything back. And I'm like, if I'm scheduled for a mission trip next year, I'll be like, Lord, I know I'm called to do this thing, but please provide the way for me to go to Me Without You's last show, or I will cry. I'll be like Hat whenever the Red Wings lose a game, and I will lock myself in my room and not come out for a week. I remember that.
I feel like their band name was really forecasting the fact that they would break up sometime. I mean,
some days me without them, man. Oh, great.
Me without them.
Favorite band of all time. This is never going to change. They will always be my favorite band no matter what. I've lost count how many times I've seen them.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Well, I know you were big on shows, so we'll keep playing music. I'm sure we'll keep coming up here.
Still am, man.
We're going to move on to the next picture here. I'm thinking this is your world race because I think I remember one of the guys. You're standing in front of a boat, and your bro has that big beard going on.
Oh, yeah. So those are
I'm
two of
so
my
jealous of
homies from
him.
it. Yeah.
I'm
I
super
bet you
jealous.
are.
And I met him
Yeah.
before. We went to the one
Yeah.
Shikari show
Shikari.
together, and his
That's
beard was
right.
awesome.
That's right. Yeah. Oh man, there's another story I could tell there. It's pretty heavy, but well, I might circle back to that one.
Drop bombs.
I'll drop bombs with no shade. Maybe if he stumbles upon this, like maybe we can clear the air some stuff. So, yeah, man. So that story there with that picture is so in 2012 for Christmas, my mom gave me the book Love Does from Bob Goff. That's to this day, it's my favorite book. It's just very simple. It's practical. It's just telling stories of this dude's life and how it illustrates simple truths in the gospel. And so that family I'm with, so who's in the picture is myself, two of my buddies, Jess and Josh, who I traveled the country with. I've traveled around the world with them. And then Bob Goff is the man in the picture, and there's a family there. So the family, their name's the Borens, the Boren family. And I met them through Instagram. So the mom, she has this like, Instagram where she has like the whole family's on there. They have a big family, obviously. And she found me on Instagram when I was on the road race 2015. And I was like, who's this random mom who's following me? Watch out. And she messaged me once and she goes, hey, I just want to introduce myself. So you don't think I'm some weird lady on Instagram, but I found your Instagram and I showed it to all my kids, and her kids are anywhere from like 7 to like 27. Like that's like how vast like the age gap is there. And they have, I think 7 kids. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think seven kids all together. And so she reached out and she said, yeah, I found your Instagram and I wanted to show it to all my kids as a way of inspiring them and showing them like, hey, there's actually cool Christians out there. Her words, not mine. And I'm just like, wow, like I'm flattered, like cool. And she goes, yeah, I really appreciate the stuff that you share, like how realistic it is and how like just how the Christian walk can be fun. It can be exciting. It doesn't have to be cookie cutter. It can be whatever. And you talk about real stuff, you talk about fun stuff. And I want them to see that there's people they can look up to. And I'm like, wow, like, thank you. That's really encouraging. Like I would love to be like some sort of role model if I can be. And so that began 2015. And so that led to, hey, my daughter is going through some stuff. Do you have some stuff to encourage her with that, maybe we can read a book together? And so I was like unofficially like helping her counsel like her daughters, like through Instagram, like not the one daughter, then the second daughter, and just kept going. So that was 2015. I think it was by 2016, still kept in contact. Like 2 years, like they sent me Christmas presents and stuff. We've never met before ever. But they sent me a Christmas present 2015, one 2016, 2017. So 2 years after I meet this mom on Instagram, the oldest daughter, Justine, whom I like close, really good friends, she's like, hey, I'm going to New York. Do you want to hang out? I don't know how far away you are from New York City, but do you want to hang out? And I'm like, what the heck? Let's party. So I hop on a bus go to Philly, hop on the bus there to go to New York. And then I'm realizing, wait, I was catfished back in college. And that catfish story could easily be on the show Catfish. Like hands down, it's the most messed up story ever. My catfish story is ridiculous. And I'm like, I've heard stories of how someone's once pretended to be a whole family on Catfish before. I was like, what if this family is totally not even real and it's all fake? And now I'm on a bus to go meet this random girl from this family at Times Square. What am I doing right now? But I go anyway, and I'm waiting there at Times Square. I'm waiting around to see if this girl shows up. And then, oh shoot, I'm getting a call. Crap. Oh shoot. Am I still there? Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. And then here she comes. This random girl walks up and we're like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Yeah, let's go hang out over here. And we just start talking like we've been friends our whole lives. I was like, who are we? This is great. Sorry, I keep getting the call. But yeah, so more of the story, we just hit it off right away, became like super close friends. So I met one person. 2018 is when that picture was taken, where I go on the Open Door Movement. We're traveling all around the country. I think it was state number 35 was California, and that's where they lived. And they know like I'm obsessed with Disney. Like I love Disney. And I've never been to Disney World or Disneyland before until that day. And we're supposed to go on a Tuesday. Didn't work out. I got sick. So Wednesday rolls up and we're walking up to dinner. Hey, we're taking you guys to Disney today. And I'm like, I'm already freaking out. Like it's insane. So we're going up to the gates. We're waiting there in line. And I look at my boys. I'm like, guys, do you realize what day of the week it is? It's Wednesday. What's the big deal? Have you not read Love Does? in the intro of Love Does, Bob Goff talks about he makes his office Tom Sawyer Island at Disneyland. Like he literally will go to Disneyland every Wednesday morning for like a few hours and just make his office this little picnic table at Tom Sawyer Island. And this guy's my hero, guys. Like he is like literally the reason why I did the world race, the reason why I made key necklaces to do missions. Like everything stemmed from reading that book and realizing I got to do something. I got to do something bigger than myself. And it all stemmed from that book. And he's the most ridiculous person ever. If you haven't read the book, please go read it. So ridiculous to the point where not only does he make his office Tom Sawyer Island, but he put his phone number in the back of his book. Like every book he has, his phone number, personal phone number, is in the back of the book. And I have it saved in my phone. And I was like, guys, do you think that he's here today? And so sure enough, we call the number. He picks up his phone. He's like, hey, what's up? This is Bob. I'm just hanging out at Tom Sawyer Island right now. And I'm like, can we hang out with you? He's like, yeah, come over at 11 o'clock. Just come chill. And we're just there. Just the three of us are there. The family, like they're coming later in the day. So we go out, ride some rides. We come back and we go to Tom Sawyer Island. And sure enough, there's Bob Goff, my hero. And I'm like, hey, Bob, how's it going? He goes, hey, I'm Bob. He gives me a big hug. And I'm like, huh, who are you? And we just talk just like normal people for like an hour of this random Tom Sawyer Island in Disney. Like the one place I've always dreamed of going with my hero. Like what could be better? And then the family comes to meet us as we're leaving. And then we took that picture. But before we took that picture, Kim, the mom, comes over to me and says, Derek, do you realize how crazy this is? What's so crazy? She goes, he's the reason why we know you. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? She goes, he came to their church once and he talked about, like Love Does, and he had the hashtag Love Does. They searched the hashtag Love Does on Instagram, and that's how she found me. And she goes, isn't it crazy? We've known you, quote unquote, for 3 years, and we've never met you in person until this day with the guy who brought us all here in the first place with his hashtag. And now we're all meeting with him at Tom Sawyer Island. How crazy is that? And I'm like, I call those moments God winks, where God just goes, see what I did there? Like he brought all these things full circle of a weird Instagram friendship with this mom of a big family that I've been ministering with them for 5 years now. I still visit them every single year just to hang out and be with them and just hang with their family. And yeah, but that day was the most ridiculous days of my life, because how does that happen? And to know that I didn't even know that was the reason why we even knew them in the first place, was through a hashtag. But yeah, but since the day I'm so grateful for that family. They bless my socks off every time I'm with them, and they're just the best people ever. But that's the story behind that one. But
That's awesome.
That's
crazy cool
really
divine
cool.
appointments there.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It is. That's cool. Let's go to the next picture. It looks like in this picture that someone's on their knees, maybe being prayed for on Porch.
Oh yeah.
The house or something.
Yep. That was
Where was that one
last
at?
year. That was in Spain.
Okay.
So that's Spain. This is a really quick story though. Surprise. No, that was so my school in Spain, I was there for 6 months in 2016, but I flew back last year. I flew back last year for a reunion. Like every class I got to graduate from there came out, and while I was there, I was just meant to hang out at a reunion, and it turned into, we're ordaining you right now, Derek. And I'm like, what? And my mentor, Andrew Shearman, he's like, again, 75-year-old wild British man, slaps you in the face when he gets excited, and he's like, come on, man, does that excite you? And he slaps you. It's hilarious. But him and my other spiritual dad, Gary Black, I was dating his daughter at the time. So it was kind of like hey, we're on this date, but we're at this reunion. So it was like this big thing. So I thought it was just this casual night, but then it turned into my ordination. And so that was such a surreal moment of just having these two men I really have high respect for, and I really look up to, like a spiritual father and spiritual grandfather. And it was out of the blue. They know how, and this goes with what Rick talked about in his podcast. I found the same exact things true in my own life, where no matter what my highest honors I had in school, like my degree, it's done me nothing. No one cares about who Derek Shadow is. It's all about connections that you have and whatever to work in certain churches. They only want paid experience. And so everyone in Spain knew about that. Like they knew like I can't find a job anywhere I've looked a lot of places. I've applied a lot of places. And for at least 8 of those years where I've been actively searching, no one will even give a second look to my application. But again, that's why I do what I do. Like I'm a missionary because like whether I'm getting paid for it or not, like if God calls me to do something, I'm going to do it regardless, no matter what. And I trust He will provide. And right now I'm always just providing my own salary and just trying to get support and stuff. But they knew that, like, they knew like, I mean, no one will hire you, but we want you to be ordained, and we have that authority. We're going to do this thing. And it was a real moment. So that was, my ordination by my spiritual fathers in Spain. It was very intense and very powerful, but like something crazy happened. Like God was giving me all these new visions back in my heart. Like as they were praying for me, it was like things that I lost. And this is again, going back to like, it was in Spain originally where all my soul ties got broken off, and that 9-year depression thing, basically that one person was finally let go of. A lot of dreams and passions that I lost in that process, I saw the Lord like putting them right back in my heart. Like all these things that I thought were lost were given right back. And it was the craziest thing as they were praying for me and just like ordaining me. Like, there was something totally legit and spiritual that was happening there where I was like feeling just like something crazy went down. So ordained officially, Pastor D-Shat.
Heck yeah, man.
That's one way. That's a great way.
Yeah, because I couldn't get ordained in the Assemblies of God. That was the other thing I forgot to say. I wasn't allowed to. Yeah.
Well, you are now.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, that's really cool. The next one I love this picture. I think speak to exactly of what I said of this is the D-Shat now. I see the joy on your face and the passion and the excitement. So just share. It looks like you're partaking in someone's next step in faith.
I was actually trying to drown him because that was actually a kid who stole my bike, and I was like, "Yo, this kid is going down."
Well,
you
look way too happy to be doing that. But.
Oh, I'm maniacal. I'm maniacal. Nah, do these? I need you to see these tears right now. Do these tears showing up right now?
No, I'll edit some in.
Nah, I'm like legit like crying, just like looking at that picture, and that's why I saved that one for last, because A, that's the season I'm in right now, and B, that's one of my highlights of being at Rad Nature. Again, I never thought I'd be back in skate ministry after all this time, and actually still progressing and learning stuff every day. Like check out my story or check out the new post I put up. We did a skate trip yesterday, and like I'm learning stuff I've never thought I would ever try before because these guys push me every day. But Nick, it was me baptizing him with my coworker Danielle, and dude, that kid is he's very, very, very special to my heart, and I don't care if I cry right now. Like I may be choked up, and then deal with it. This kid, man, his story is he's been coming to skate church for like 2 years or so before I came here, and he went from this place of like, I don't know if I believe this whole God thing. Like, I don't know if I can get down with it. Like having this like, weird relationship with it all. And eventually the more I came to skate church, he's like, these people are cool at least. And they got pizza, and he like kept hanging out at skate church. And then I came in, and when I came into Ride Nature, I was like, how do I do my first message? Like, what should I, talk about? What should I say? And God was asking me to lead with vulnerability. And I was like, if I'm this guy coming in, I don't want to make him seem like, who's this guy who thinks he has all his stuff together and da-da-da-da. And I'm just going to be the opposite and say, I'm a guy who doesn't have his stuff together, but I know the guy who has his stuff together, who I can point you to. It's like, I can give you a drink of water and I can lead you to a well. And so I shared my story, I shared my testimony, and shared like, who is Jesus, and why am I even alive today? Like I literally wouldn't be alive if Jesus had not saved me. And that's my story. And so I shared that just to kind of give them a little introduction, but also still giving like a full message of the gospel. And that was the first time Nick heard me speak. And we had met like the 2 months before I moved down here when I was just visiting. We made a connection. And when I met him, immediately I was like, this kid's like my little brother. Like, he's just a cool cat. Like, we got along right away. Reminded me of a kid at my home skate park. But we already had this connection somehow. And when I moved down here, he's like, dude, you're that guy who came here back in July. And I'm like, Yep. And actually, I'm reaching my 1-year anniversary with Ride this month, which is pretty rad. It's been a year. But shortly after that day that I share with him, I remember one day we were leaving a park and he came up to me and like dropped his stuff and was like, yeah, dude, that stuff that you were talking about, that's what I'm dealing with too. And, you know, just like, I don't know if I want to, didn't know if I want to live. I'm just really in a dark place. And he's like, but thanks for sharing what you shared. And he's like, you know, gave me a big hug and was like, yeah, I come to the place where I just need to give things over to God. And yeah, and I'm like, bro, like, heck yeah, that's awesome, man. And it was so cool. Like him just coming to that place of surrender was huge. And then I'm like, a week later was when our Israel trip was coming up. And so, you know, he had given his heart to the Lord, which is huge already. And then he goes, I don't know why, but I just can't shake this feeling like I have to go to Israel with you. And I'm like, dude, just do it. I was like, if God's calling you too, he's going to provide the way to make it happen. He goes, well, I don't have a passport. And how am I going to raise the money for it? I'm like, God's good, man. Like, again, if you're called into, he's going to provide it. One day, drove to Miami, got a passport in one day. A homie paid for the whole thing too, like foot of the bill for the passport. And then we left. And by the time we came back, his whole trip was paid for. Like every penny came in for his trip to be covered. And while we were out there, he's like, yeah, I want to get baptized and I'm going to get baptized by you. And that was in the Sea of Galilee. And I wanted to do it there instead of the Jordan. Like everyone goes to the Jordan. But I was like, we went to the Sea of Galilee. I'm like, this is where Jesus called the first disciples, where they were just like, I want to drop everything. I want to follow this guy. Just like you dropped all your stuff that day. And you were like, I want to follow Jesus. We're going to do this here. And so we baptized him there. And it's rad because seeing this dude who at one point was totally against God, then his heart got softened, then he gave his heart to the Lord, and just being a part of that. Like, I know it's been a bunch of people feeding into him, but like being a part of that and seeing someone say like, hey, thanks for sharing that thing. And like, that's why I said like, my story doesn't have to always bring shame on me, but it's meant to bring hope to other people and say, I felt that same way. I've gone through that. Like, how can I find my way out of that? And I can always say, Jesus, it's the only way out of anything. And yeah, man, that led to him give his heart to the Lord, get baptized in Israel. And since then, this is the coolest part about it. And that's why I cry right now. He's over in my house right now. His room is right next to mine. He just quit his job and said, I want to just dive into being discipled, and I want to be an intern at Ride Nature. And I just want to grow in my faith and know what this is all about, like even more. And just seeing him go from these like basics of like, this is what the Christian walk looks like. We don't do this anymore. We don't do this, like, but this is what we get to be a part of. And he's reading the word and being like, dude, like, can you walk me through this? Like, we're reading verse by verse, like going through John together, or going through whatever together, and just seeing him like make connections. And now he's like, dude, it's nuts, man. It's so nuts. Like, just seeing that transformation, man, in 1 year, like, of being here. Like, homie gives heart to the Lord, got baptized, and now he's an intern with us. And we live together. We've been hanging out the entire day. We hang out every day together. And, you know, make fun of each other like we're brothers, of course. Like, he's constantly roasting me. But he's like, I do it because I love you. But, yeah, I love that dude so much. He's, yeah. If I came down to Ride Nature just for Nick, like, it's all worth it. But that's why picture is so special, because that's baptizing my little brother, man. And yeah,
That's
powerful.
That's
Yeah.
huge. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's a really cool story, man.
Everybody looks so happy in that picture too. They all
Yeah.
seem to know that it's just right, and that's awesome. It really is.
It's huge.
Oh yeah,
It's huge.
that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing those pictures.
Seriously.
We
Make
do
tears
have.
come out my face.
Well, I don't know where else they'd come out. We do have. I have one other pick that I want to hit today. And because I have a great story of an animal attacking me randomly, it looks like you possibly also do. Yeah, so we want to get the insight on you being almost bit by a hippo or something.
Bro, you can do whatever you want in Thailand. Like, they don't really care about rules. Yeah, so the world race, man, there's a lot of weird animal encounters I had. Like, I jumped on a water buffalo on the streets in the Philippines. Like I literally just jumped on the back of one, and I don't know if I was supposed to or not, but there was that. Like I spooned a tiger. I mean, hashtag Tiger King. Like I wasn't with him, of course, but I spooned a tiger. I ridden elephants. I don't know, a lot of weird stuff. But the best one was the hippo because the zoo in Thailand was just ridiculous. Where there's like really no fences, and there's like a fence, but there's no like hey, here's like a 10-foot wall, or here's like in America, it's like the animal's way over there and you can barely even see it. No, the hippos are just like climbing up the wall there, and you can pay like 30 cents and get like a bag of like sweet potatoes and basically just play like ring toss and just chuck sweet potatoes into their mouths and they just bob their heads up. You just keep chucking. Dude, it was nuts. Like you can feed like the elephants are literally just walking down the walkways and you're like, what's up, elephant? Like feed those, feed the emus, feed the giraffes, and then feed hippos. And so the hippo was going up the wall, and my friend was like, dude, you should touch it. And I'm like, bro, it's the most dangerous land animal in the world. Like, okay. And so I just reached down. I did not know that she was even taking a picture. And lo and behold, she took the picture right as I touched the hippo's face. And I'm like, bro,
I do gotta say, you look pretty good in this picture. I love the way your hair is. I love the way you look at that.
Oh yeah,
you look so good right there. Look at that hair.
I was letting the beard grow. I let the hair grow. Yeah, man.
That looks pretty good.
I was gonna have there's a picture somewhere. They're on my Instagram. There's one where I'm posing with I walked a lion through the bush in Africa. Like we go on like lion walks out there. It was all safe. It's all good. Like, and it's all like nothing sketchy at all about how they treat the animals. Just for the record. But I'm with this animal. But back then was when my hair was the longest though. So my hair was long there, but that was like, I forget, like 4 or 5 months later. Dude, my hair was so long back then, and now it's like, I mean, I keep it pretty short nowadays, but
D-Shat,
my beard, I'm letting it all grow out.
You have the ability to grow long hair. Grow it.
Word.
I don't have that ability anymore, so I can't do it. I need you to do it for me.
Yeah, that's what my intern says. He's like, Aiden, he's like, man, I want to grow facial hair. Can you just like shave some off and just like let me glue it? And I'm like, if you want it,
just grow it out for me. I wish I had it, and I can't grow it out like I used to have long hair like you. It wasn't as nice. It wasn't wavy and all dope.
I think I might be right now. Like until I have another like weird moment where I'm like, I hate my hair. And just shave it all off because Florida's hot.
Winter's
like,
right around the corner, and I don't know what winter is like in Florida, but I'm sure it's not snow covered, but it still might be colder. I don't know.
Winter here is like summer in Pennsylvania.
Well, winter in Florida is really dangerous because all of the people flock down to Florida.
Snowbirds, man.
The snowbirds, so they assemble, and so it's probably really
snowbirds assemble. Yeah, man, it's no joke. But yeah, the hippo. I forgot I sent you that one.
That's cool though. I can't imagine getting close to what I believe is an animal that kills the most human beings per year. I think, from what I remember on
did you ever see the movie Congo? Dude, it destroys that boat.
Some parts gorillas are terrifying, man. I think the scariest animals, like if you ever go to a zoo and right at the glass there's like the massive gorillas, I think they're the scariest like zoo animal. And this is again like ridden elephants, tigers, not riot tiger, but tiger, elephant, lion, all those things. But the one animal that I'm always freaked out by, horses. If I walk up to a big horse, I don't know, man. Horses wig me out. Oh yeah, I rode a camel too, Andrew. I forgot about that. When you're telling your camel story,
hey, man.
They're so uncomfortable though. We rode them through the Sahara Desert, and I was like, oh, our ride's only an hour long. Oh, I want to ride a camel longer than that. We're on it for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, bro, this is the most painful experience on your boys. I will say that. Pardon my French, but yeah, dude. And I was like, when's this ride going to be over? So the camel may not have kicked me because I fed it a Pop-Tart, but did damage my boys pretty good for the day.
That stinks. I'm sorry.
I had to keep it lighthearted after how heavy everything was at first. I'm like, I got to light it up with some other story.
Humor is good.
Humor is always good.
So, So the most recent way that I connect with you, Derek, and a lot of us do, is through going to shows and stuff. And we've been going to Enter Shikari shows every time they come around, except for the last one. And your buddy was there who goes to the shows too. And
Bro
I met up with
Chacho.
him. Yeah, we
Yep.
met up with him and hung out and everything. I think he even took a picture with me and said
Yep.
Derek would be really mad if I didn't get a picture because you weren't there.
I told him, I was like, dude, you got to see the boys, man. That's like our reunion. Like we
we hung
always
out with
say,
him. We bought the shirts with him. We were all in line for
Yeah.
everything, and it was a really good show. But
Yeah.
I enjoy that stuff, and so I sent Andrew a picture. He's gonna hopefully put up of one of the most recent shows that we went to with Andrew Sakari with a whole group of us.
Nice. Because how many times have we seen them together? We've seen them at least 2 or 3 times together, I think. Yeah, that's right.
It's not focusing right, but when he puts it up, it'll be nice. But it was the whole group of us. It was the group that you came with, the group I came with, and I think that show that the pictures up that they're showing is that picture. I gave a ticket to one of your friends who couldn't.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
get a ticket or something, and then Katie wasn't feeling well, couldn't go, so I like gave him the ticket for free or something. And I think I actually walked away with a drumstick.
Yep. I was about to say you got the drumstick.
Yeah, I got the drumstick
another
still.
time, I think.
Yeah. Someone else got the set list, I think. So
you guys have the craziest fortune when we go to shows. It's like, oh yeah, I got a drumstick. Oh yeah, I got the set list. Yeah, and then we all got condoms at the one show. I think that was just Gene Hatt and I.
Yeah, Eugene Hatt went to the Asking Alexandria. You went there for Asking Alexandria.
No, for Shikari. Yeah, I didn't know Asking Alexandria was.
With Shikari like being like the big deal. So.
Well, the headliners of that show, it was in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and we drove all the way from Valley Forge to Altoona just for Shikari. They were like the third band on the roster. It was Broadway, Asking Alexandria, which we knew of Broadway because I think they had the cover of like I'm on a Boat. Didn't know Asking Alexandria. That was the day we found out about them, and they did their intro, and we're just like, who is this band? Like,
yeah, they went off in our college dorm for like a year after that.
Oh yeah, like Hat would just try to play whatever song had the most cursing in it, just to like catch the RAs off guard.
Remember every time you guys were together, it's all you talk
one
about.
song.
Yeah, but then Shikari played third, and we were like, okay, we can leave now. We left before Alisana and The Blood were the headliners. We left before either one of them played. We're like, we don't care. We're here for Shikari. But while we were waiting, the tour manager guy comes and goes, hey, boys, think you might need a couple of these tonight. And he gives these little square packages. Me and my innocence, I thought they were stickers.
He's like, hey, communion crackers.
That's what it looked like, actually. I was like, is this the wafer?
Yeah.
And then it has like the Common Dreads like symbol of Shikari on it. And then on the other side says, you're not getting any sleep tonight, which is one of the song lyrics. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. What the sticker looks like. And I open it up and I'm like, oh, that's not a sticker.
I didn't know you opened it there.
No, because it had a little like thing, you just like pop it back in or whatever. So I still have it because I'm 32. I'm clean. Like I can honestly say I'm 32 and I'm still saving myself for marriage. How about that for a little bomb drop from the one single guy on the podcast?
Very, very
holding out, boys.
I was 29 when I got married, and I was too. So good job.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I still have my condom. Moral of the story.
Do not use it. Do not use it.
I'm not going to use it either.
They do expire, from what I know.
I have it like, I was going to frame it on my wall, and I was like, what if someone's going to be like, why do you have this random condom on your wall? I'm like, it's about this, because we had all the guys signed it. That's right. So it's signed by all the dudes too. The packaging, not the actual.
The packaging? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that would be weird. Be like, oh, it reminds me of these guys.
He puts it on and has the signature.
Because Hat goes, I think it was Hat or Gene, and one of them said like to the tour guide, yeah, you want to say it too? He's like, you don't want me signing this, or you get a little softy when you see my name on this. And I'm like, wow. So when I fly back to Pennsylvania this month, I'll have to go see if I can find. I have it on my cork board that I used to have at college. I have it pinned on there. So if I find, I'll take a picture and I'll put it in the group chat.
I think that if you come to PA, you better hit Andrew and I up, and we should meet up somewhere because we live in PA. So
Wolfie, Matthias, like everyone's there. Yeah.
So let's do a small one, a mini one right there.
Yeah, I just have to find a car. So if I can get a hold of my parents' vehicles, like, or else if you guys want to come to D-Burg, I mean, hey, we can go to Harrisburg, go to Nito Burrito, get a burrito.
Hey, we're not that far away, so.
Yeah, truth.
Yeah,
well, make something happen. Yeah, I'll text guys the details about it. So yeah,
awesome, man. Well, hey, this has been a really fun episode. I love that we got to hear your heart. I love, again, your vulnerability thank you for opening up. You know, I
Oh,
know
always.
everyone listening to it is going to really appreciate it.
I'm an open book. I got like no shame. It's like, so I feel like I should have like shame about it. I'm just like, you know what? Like God created me to be a certain way for a
Yeah.
reason. And like, I have my own story to tell for a reason. And it's funny because I just mentioned it. Like here's the one, like a closing story, if you will. That's again, going to just a nonchalant comment I just made. It's funny just to be like upfront and real. I took such a jab, like a personal shot. Like it was like this actually, yeah, it was this time last year. I'm going to laugh so hard if this was the actual day it happened. I don't think it was, but this time last year is when I got broken up with, where I was dating my, one of my dude's like daughters or whatever. But yeah, we were dating for a while and she broke up with me. And one of the reasons why she broke up with me was she said, and I quote, "You're just too wholesome." And I took such a personal like offense to that, where I was like, what? Like, I thought that was a good thing. Like, I'm like, yeah, it's like, I don't want to be a jerk. Like, I want to be respectful. I want to be honorable. Like, I want to treat a girl with like purity and stuff. Like, and not saying anything. She'll never listen to this or anyone. Yeah, whatever. But that was one thing that drove her crazy, was that I refused to do things physically or whatever. And so that was one of the reasons why I actually got dumped, as ironic as that is.
Dude, you should be
Not the
proud
kind of girl I
that.
want to. Yeah, not the kind of girl you want to be with in the long run, of course. Which again, she was trying to get back in her faith, and I was more in love with the potential of where things could be, especially it was like, everyone has a story to tell, but that was one of the reasons why she broke up with me. And she said, "Yeah, you're too wholesome." And the day that happened, I was at a festival doing a skate outreach, and it was the day before I moved to Florida, where I was like, God, I'm sacrificing so much for this move. Is this the right thing? And normally if something bad happens, I want to isolate. I want to be alone. I'll just be depressed and I'll be in it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to choose community. I'm going to choose the opposite this time around. And so I went to see my random buddy do a show in Harrisburg at midnight. And I just drove out. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this, God, but I know you're calling me to not isolate. And so again, I'm choosing you. And when we choose God and choose to meet him, like somewhere else where it's not like giving ourselves an environment to just wallow in our own, heartbreak or whatever, be with people, like choose community. When I went to this random bar in Harrisburg, this dude I used to work with, like, I don't know if he's a Christian guy or anything like that, just random musician dude I used to work with. He saw me there. He goes, "Yo, D-Shat, what's up, man? Dude, haven't seen you in so long. What's going on, man?" I'm like, "I'm just chilling. Kind of got broken up with just now." And he's like, "Oh, bro, that sucks. But dude, you know what I've always loved about you, man?" And he just starts speaking life out of nowhere over me. And he goes, and again, I didn't tell him anything other than I just got broken up with. Like, he just starts casually just speaking life. And he goes, "Dude, you know one thing I've always admired about you, man? You just do your thing, man. You're all about this Jesus." And he's like, "You tells you to go somewhere, you just go, man. You just do your own thing. You know what else? You're a wholesome guy. Don't ever lose that wholesome thing about you, because that's pretty awesome. And I really admire that." Before this happened, and before my ex called me wholesome, I haven't heard that word in I don't know how long. And that was the one thing I took as like a badge of honor. It's like, not like I'm better than anyone way, but in a way of like, God, I want to honor you and I want to respect you way. And yeah, dude, like, and I took it as like, man, this sucks. Like, that maybe it is a negative thing. Everyone makes fun of me now for it. Everyone gives me a hard time for stuff. And maybe I'm this, maybe I'm that. I went back to self-doubt place, and immediately through a random dude, just like Balaam had his donkey speak to him. Here's this random dude in a bar, doesn't know anything, and say, that don't ever lose that wholesome thing about you. The one thing I'm feeling insecure about, God's like, no, don't lose it. I created you like that for a reason. And that right there was like what God needed to speak to my heart that got me to move to Florida and stuff, and actually be emotionally okay and stuff. So yeah, it's a fun story about people can say one thing, but God's truth is the ultimate thing that trumps everything else. Like, he made you for a reason. And when you lose sight of it, be like, dude, no, I'm God's son and everything's okay. A rambling final story about being proud of who you are and not
awesome,
people to
man.
deter you from that. Yeah. Don't change for people.
Oh, that's great.
Change for the better. Yeah.
Well, that's really awesome, man. But hey, I'm going to have a lot of fun throwing in some pictures and You know, we're gonna do a bunch of band pictures and try to find what we can of some cool pictures off Facebook and stuff. But it's been so good catching up with you, talking with you again. You sharing has been really awesome to hear. And I know I talked with you on the phone about when you came to see me before I deployed.
Yeah.
I always remember that, and that was really, you know, really special to have you here with me that day. You know, so yeah.
Yeah,
So it
man.
was awesome.
For sure. Yeah, I've always said before, it's like I always forget who the other person was who walked upstairs whenever I first met you guys. But I always remember like Andrew was one of them. Like you're the one of the dudes I first met from 24 Down. But yeah, and I'm just grateful for you, man. Like if it weren't for you guys being so welcoming, I almost fell through your ceiling because our beds made a loud sound when I first moved up. Like, yeah, you guys both, I mean, have been there since the beginning with me, like skating in the streets and just doing whatever. Like it didn't matter, like, you know, if I would like outskate you guys or anything like that. It was like, no, just the fact that, like seeing Andrew try to kick flip or try to barrel flip or whatever everyone was trying to do, it was like we just loved being with each other. It was, and things had never been a competition with 24 Down as far as like just hanging out or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, you're trying this, like, heck yeah, Andrew, get that kick flip. Or like, dude,
Hey.
I remember you guys were so good at manuals. I still suck at manuals. I can do
He
it.
was
Like,
awesome. Francis was
I'm
awesome.
very proud of the knowing that
Yeah.
I was very good at only manuals.
you're still better than me at man. If I just rolled through a parking lot and tried to manual, like, bro, I can barely hold for like 3 spots.
I
But if
really only got ollies down for me. That's all I could do.
That's okay.
Ollie
Nothing
pretty
wrong with
good. No, I
I
did
was-
have a memory of, remember when we were on the back basketball courts at Valley Forge, D-Shat, and it was only
Mhm.
me and you, and he's the only one that knows, him and God, but I landed a fakey 360 flip, and you were the only one that saw it, and I landed
remember
it
seeing the
one
back-
time.
I definitely remember seeing the back basketball court with you one day. I'm trying to picture it in my head right now.
It's
Seems
okay.
But I
like he
remember,
doesn't
I remember
remember it,
being
Andrew.
back
No, he
there.
does. I know he does.
I don't think he does.
He does.
I definitely remember being back there on the court with you for sure.
See, he knows I was there, and so
I guess
he's a
that's
godly
start.
man, and that means no. But I was there with him, and that was, I remember I was kept trying to fakey 360 flip, and I landed it one time, and that was seriously probably one of the last times I skated, because I was like, it's all downhill from here, so I was done.
It's all downhill. Dude, it's never all downhill. I thought I was done progressing like years ago after I stopped doing like skate demos. I just kind of coasted till I got here. And last night I did like I'll just do like something gibberish. I did a frontside blunt slide down like a down rail at this park, and I'm like, so check out my not MySpace.
We got the
Check
link.
out my
Wow.
my latest Instagram post.
We got the video. We got the link. Don't
But
worry.
yeah, man, it was like I freaked out. You can see the expression on my face shows you how surprised I was. Where I'm just like, how did that happen? And it was like 6 try, and I'm like, I don't care if I get hurt. If it means I get to be with the boys right now, like I'll do whatever just to be with them right now. But yeah, so you can always learn new stuff, and I believe you can learn another fakey 360 flip right now, Andrew, if you wanted to. I will mail you a skateboard just to like get you back on the horse again. Or the
I did
camel.
try to ride one of those really mini ones that's like the size of your foot. That didn't go.
No. Death traps, man. That and any Walmart board, death traps. Like
Yeah.
pros, they once bought a bunch of Walmart boards for the pros to ride. Not even they could ride them. Like they're falling over. Like, dude, these things are death traps. They don't turn. The wheels are like plastic. The trucks are. It's a mess, man.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, hey
Hot
man,
dog,
it's been awesome. I've loved it. I'm so excited to start editing this, to get it out. And again, thanks for your stories. I appreciate who you are, the man you're turning into. I know you're going to do so much more, and I look forward to staying in touch and hearing more, about where you go.
For sure, man. Dude,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate everyone listening for sticking around. If this is like another long one, but I appreciate you guys like listening and just being, again, as I always say, like welcoming me into the fam and, being my fam and stuff. So I love every single person, like whether I knew you or am just now knowing you. Like I'm grateful for every person who's been on this so far who is to come, because we're building the family bigger and getting even closer. As crazy as it is, like over 10 years later, we're all getting closer, and not more distant, socially distant.
Very nice.
Who am I kidding, Rizzo? I'm not saying socially distant, am I? I apologize. He's like, every time I see you, why are you not socially distant or wearing a mask? I'm like, I do wear a mask everywhere though, except for the skate parks.
Well, this has been awesome, Derek. I love you so much, and I can't wait to see you again. Maybe hopefully go to a show very soon here, as soon as everything opens up again. So
For sure. I'll hit you guys up whenever whenever I come back to Pennsylvania. And yeah, if you can bet your bottom dollar, I will definitely be in Pennsylvania the next time Me Without You plays a show. So if you want to go see Me Without You show and see why I'm so obsessed, I mean, hey, let's party.
I mean, we're talking Enter Shikari. We'll do that.
I know. I will try to fly up to wherever I can go to. If Hat's on board to fly somewhere for Shikari, or mostly for Shikari, I'd say. I'll fly to either Detroit or to Philly for Shikari.
We're actually talking about maybe
go.
doing a middle ground. Last time we were thinking if they do something in near Ohio, him and I can meet in the middle, and then we can all just go there.
Yeah. Hopefully airfare will be cheap, so we'll see what shakes loose.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys hanging at the back porch, even though it's late.
Hey, that's the only time you hang on the back porch.
That's right. I'll go make a really crappy pizza if you want.
Yeah, let's go steal some Snickers bars.
White
Snickers. I think that was the time that we had the fridge in the apartment, and I was like, "Where did all these Snickers bars come from? These ice cream bars?" And Chocolate was like, "No, you should have one, D-Shat," because he knew like I'm such a stickler for rules. Like everyone here, like my main boss, he's like, "Hey, D-Shat, just break a rule once." I'm like, I took my mask off for 10 seconds. That doesn't count because I hate breaking rules. I am such a stickler for.
I'm the same
like.
way.
I'm so afraid of breaking rules. But Chocolate had me eating one, and he goes, "Hey, D-Shat, how's that Snickers bar taste?" I'm like, "Good." He goes, "Yeah, you enjoy that." And kept on saying that I'm like breaking a rule, and I'm like, should I not be eating this? I felt so insecure after that. I was like, I'm never eating these again. But now I know after hearing stories that, they were all from the back porch.
Awesome.
But
Well, hey, man, it's been awesome. It's been fun, and we will keep in touch.
For sure. I love you guys.
Oh,
Adelphos right there. I was like, where's he going with this?
All right. See you guys.